Hi, my name is Erna Gregory, and we're going to talk a little bit about collection analysis for Lemmy School. And this is the Lemmy School library webpage. So here are our catalogs, our Follett Destiny catalogs. Here is a link to, I got a subscription for the school for Capstone Connect. And so this is a database that has a little over 3,500 books for students. They're all digital, but they can search. Has a really good search field. The issue is that a lot of these, or none of these books are actually in the catalog, right? So they can't be because it is a subscription, and so what's in the database, the Capstone database, changes. They're also obviously the ones who do PebbleGo and PebbleGo Next. So we have, and these are mostly nonfiction. Now we also have Learning Ally, a subscription, and all the kids have access to Learning Ally. The staff really likes it. It's a great way to get kids online reading. So I really wanted to show you Capstone Connect and some of the features in PebbleGo and also Learning Ally, just because, again, there's no way to get these books in the catalog. It's pretty great. It's a pretty great way to add books. They're almost all human read, and it's very searchable or browsable. And we've had really good luck with students using this, and it's not terribly expensive. We get a small school discount. And in fact, I have some pictures here of the kids using Learning Ally. They really like it. They really like comparing their pages, their bookshelves, their virtual bookshelves with one another. The difference between using this Learning Ally and something like Epic is Epic, I mean, obviously there are still kids who want to hold a book, and obviously I'm never going to say no, but they all have access to Learning Ally also. The great thing is about Learning Ally is, unlike something like Epic, they have access to Learning Ally on any device, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Epic only offers, well, there's a lot that I don't like about Epic, actually, but one of the things is it's not, I think it's not available after something like 4 o'clock. It's not available on the weekends. And it really is about earning prizes and points and medals, whereas, as you can see, Learning Ally is really just a picture of the page, and they can listen to it and they can follow along. Lemmy School is a K through 12th grade. So one of the projects that I've done to get the big kids involved in the library is getting them reading to little kids. And so, and also trying to make the library really comfortable. So actually the school we're about to embark upon, I think they're going to spend about $90,000, and I'm just putting together a bid for new shelves, new furniture, a complete redo. But all the furniture that you see here, I actually got donated and just took my own time to bring it in for students. One of the reasons these pictures I think are valuable is you can see, for example, this is a book from Whatcom County Library System through the Connect Ed program. This is their sticker. This is a concepts book, and there is their sticker. I put mine on the back because of our books, because Whatcom County Library System puts theirs on the front. The Connect Ed program is really fantastic. It's a partnership between Whatcom County Library System and all the Whatcom County schools who want to sign on. And we actually helped pilot the program. So everybody gets a library card. You have to opt out and say you don't want one. And we, of course, give students the availability to do that, and then they can self-select through the Whatcom County Library System, so they can learn how to use this catalog, with which all of my students know how to do, and we get the book drop. So then they can put their books in the book drop. This is when it was first delivered. I was probably more excited than anybody, but the kids were pretty stoked, I have to say. So we get a book drop, and the kids can put their books in the book drop, and then I have a key too, so I can check it to see if any Lummi Nation school books go in, or any books that they get from the Whatcom County Library System can go in the book drop. One of the things that is really important in this library in particular, as far as doing a collection analysis, should include the song and the dance. And this is Denise Solomon. She is the wife of the head of the LIBC Council, which is a pretty important role. We have song and dance in the library. One of the things I'm doing in the redesign is to get rid of all these tables that aren't mobile, as you can see, and these chairs are ridiculous. The kids can fall forward and backwards in these, plus they're cloth. And you can see I have a lot of signage typically around. Anyway, we're getting rid of all this furniture, and we're going to be getting mobile furniture. The tables will be mobile because they will have casters, and they will be flip and fold. So we can use this for PD, this room for PD, but we can also use it for song and dance. And as you can see right now, at this point, they would only be able to use it for dance, or rather song, because there's no room to dance. And that's, again, not a real true use of this collection, because this collection for the Lummi Nation School must include the stories and the songs and the dances, not just the books. Otherwise, it is simply a colonial collection that really has not anything to do with the history of this group of people, this group of patrons, and therefore isn't an appropriate collection at all. So about the collection, there's some really good pictures in here. I know that the kids are pretty cute, but really what I want you to look at is the books. You can see that there is nothing on these books. There is no cover protection. There's no labeling of any kind. And if you look in the back, you'll see a lot of empty shelves. As I think I mentioned, that somebody did come in and catalog the books when I think this library was built in 2004, but that was before before everything was cloud-based. And then one summer, I guess they switched out the computers and didn't realize that they were getting rid of the catalog, the entire library catalog. So I can tell from this label that it is not one of mine. So this book would now have to be cataloged again into Follett Destiny. So we have a lot of books, as you can see from the pictures. You can see a lot of books, but most of them are very old and not properly cataloged. The nonfiction is what disturbs me the most. Nonfiction shouldn't be certainly not any more than 5 years, and probably no more than 3 years, depending upon the subject matter. Obviously, books about tribal history or history would be an exception. Biographies. See, look at that. No labeling at all. No cataloging. But they really like to make use of the library. And you can just see, even if you just look at some of these books on the shelf, you can tell that they're pretty old. So when we look at the analysis from Follett, tidal wave. We have about 400 students, and you know, these are the number of books that we have cataloged. Again, this obviously doesn't include what's in the Capstone interactive book collection or in Learning Ally, what's available to them in Learning Ally. And so according to these statistics, it's mostly fiction, but when you look at the pictures, what I can show you is this back here. These pictures are good because you can see in the back, this is all actually nonfiction for elementary age. And it's just all really old, and I am actually not bothering to catalog it. What I'm going to do is actually donate most of these books into the community and buy new books. So the nonfiction really needs a lot of work. I have, avid, excited readers here. Kids at the school to a person love to read. So, so about 5 books per student. I've talked to some other, our text says, the collection program in schools text on page 177 says, generally a school library should have at least 10 books per student. I've talked to librarians that have, like the librarian at Wade King in Bellingham School District that has about 30 books per student. We can talk about the things that I've really focused on buying. So this is the very first order that I ever placed as a librarian in 2018. And, one of the things that I talk about in the paper portion of this assignment is sort of trying to figure out, well, not sort of, figuring out who am I serving? Who am I, our text says that the collection analysis should be based upon how well the collection serves the needs of its users, but I don't know what the needs are in a very distinct way, because I really don't know who the LEMI people are. And so sort of talks about, this section talks about where I go to find out that information, in addition to working with the language teacher and the culture teachers. I just look to what the tribe has chosen to publish about themselves. A lot of the information about the tribe is private and is not shared with outsiders. So being that I am not a member of the tribe, I'm obviously an outsider, and so I don't want to put people in a position of telling me that they're not going to tell me stuff, even though that has actually happened. Which is fine. I just, I go to the websites to see what the LEMI Nation has said about themselves, basically, and so this tells me a lot. So then I go back to the collection and I see that there are no books by Native people for kids, none. Lots of books about pioneers, ironically. Tons of books about pioneers. I've never seen a collection with so many books on and by and about pioneers. So I started by getting these Native Northwest board books, which I think were a really good addition. And then from working with the teachers and putting out surveys, I learned that, rap is really a thing, sports, and so manga. So how can I draw in the high school students? who are interested in sports into the library. So maybe getting biographies, by Michael Jordan and etc. And manga, Dragon Ball Z. I was also told that the kids really like scary books, so I thought the Miss Peregrine series would be good. But here's some of the, so one of the things that I learned was in these Native Northwest books, they are full of Native art, but what I didn't realize was that a lot of the themes in the books are Haida, and the Haida have had a history of coming and taking Lummi Nation members away, kidnapping them, or I guess just abducting them to marry into the Haida group. So that was interesting to learn there. And so what I did was I just labeled the Ojibwa books, the Salish, so the Lummis are really part of the Coast Salish group. So the Salish, the Haida, the Ojibwa, I just labeled these books so students would start learning what the different themes in the reoccurring themes in these various styles of art looked like. And then, I got Obelix books because I thought, those are great graphic novels. They are, they sort of teach you about the whole world. These books, were a complete waste of money. They have not been picked up at all. You know who reads these books? My son. When my son goes in to wait for me at work, he reads the Asterix and Obelix books. I can't get a kid to pick up those books. And then, manga. So the Dragon Ball Z, which you see here, very popular. And then I thought, great, there are these manga Shakespeare books that they use the original text, but they just really cut the text back a lot. And so, like, for example, Macbeth is set in the future in Japan, and he has, 3 arms. I mean, these have met with some interest, but really because of the manga art, which is fine. I just think probably I could have made wiser acquisitions. Here's another one of my very early orders, again, 2018. Mo Willems, okay, that's solid. The Wimpy Kid books, love them. Harry Potter, good job, solid. The Nathan Hale graphic novel books, I could have gotten more copies of the Treaties, Trenches, Mud and Blood, and maybe less of the Underground Abductor. But anyway, and I thought, I think it's important to have the Tingle and the, I don't know how to say his name, Bruach books, but these are never read. Nobody picks these up. And then here's a series of books that was ridiculous. I got the whole series of Mr. Putter and Tabby, which are lovely books about a really old white guy and his cat. I know that thematically they're about more than that, excuse me, but if you're trying to have a collection that's reflective of the students and their parents and their families, so they see themselves represented in literature, Mr. Putter is not it. So there you go. The Hunters, this series of books, about the cats, this was sort of popular, but it was really more of a fad. Kids aren't really looking at that anymore. Captain Underpants remains something that kids really like and pick up. Obviously, all the Olivia books are very popular. Big Nate, not so much. I know that Big Nate is popular in other schools, but again, I think that it's just too far of a gap of what he reflects and his jokes and his humor. These are really not picked up at all. Exploring the Salish Sea is a fantastic nonfiction book. I should have gotten, I could have gotten 5-10 copies of that, and I would have been golden, and I still probably would have been out of them all the time. Marrow Thieves was a book I thought would be really popular. I got 2 copies. Now, both of them were checked out and never returned, so they're at somebody's house and maybe they're being enjoyed, but they didn't really get a lot of action like I thought that they would. Same thing with I Am Not a Number. The Hiawatha book, I don't know what I was thinking, not a good choice. And then this is, Wild Berries, Flat and Highway, The Dragonfly, Kites. I mean, that's, again, trying to introduce Indigenous authors and really make it a strong collection full of Indigenous authors. I do continue to strive toward that. So when we go back here, we can see we have a pretty good group of graphic novels, the board books. A lot of those board books were those Northwest Native art books. I don't know, there's no official reading level that people use. The teachers kind of talk about Lexile, but they don't really use it, which is fine. I don't like any of those. Obviously, it's still kind of an old collection. I wanted to open up some of these nonfiction books that I got for pretty specific reasons. So in working with okay, so the UFO stuff and all the paranormal stuff, I sort of had to go through the Dewey system and just get books that I thought would appeal to kids in every single number of the Dewey Decimal System, every single section. So this is an example of that. And I thought these Two Truths and a Lie book would be so popular. Nobody has ever checked them out. I worked with high school teachers, and I'm going to continue to do this, looking at their plans for the coming year. And so the freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors all do a number of reports throughout the year, and so some of these books, male privilege, sexism in the media, they sort of reflect what I was hoping, the class and race, sexism and race, racial discrimination. Black Lives Matter, I should have gotten 5 copies of that. But these are books that are really getting checked out, and I also will do a lot of displays in the classroom with these books in the middle school and high school classroom, and they are very popular. The Richard Scarry books are very, very popular with the little kids, also the grade school kids. Yeah, a lot of these books, A Place for Zero, Circumference, and The Dragon of Pi. I mean, I love these math adventure books. I thought they would be, and probably I am not doing a good job of promoting them, so kids really don't know that they're there. But, I had both third grade classrooms. We have 2 third grade classrooms doing extreme weather and volcanoes, and I barely have any books on that subject. I have old books from like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and then I have these very few books. Just absolutely not enough. Trying to find contemporary books that are contemporary, that talk about the Coast Salish, any area of the Coast Salish life or history or art that's happening right now, is something that I'm really striving for, to not have the books always talking about the past, but talking about the present and the future. Origami is hugely popular at school, especially for the boys who don't want to read fiction, and I think that that's just fine. So they love that, and I could have more of those. I wish I did. This Briefcase Warriors is a pretty interesting book. It's by Native playwrights, and these are plays I thought that could be done in the classroom, and I think I have some takers with the middle school and high school teachers for next year. Again, it's just promoting the collection and letting people know what's there. Joke books, incredibly popular. So I really think that the area that I need to work on is nonfiction, all of it. And I mean, I can show you it. Here's a book list I'm working on right now that that comes from teachers asking me to. This is, you know, Beowulf would be. This is a graphic novel version. Same thing with Canterbury Tales and Poe. I do have some really good graphic novel of Poe that's very popular. Attempting as many native authors as possible. And the classics maybe in a creative way through like graphic novels. So Great Gatsby, but in graphic novel form. Same thing with To Kill a Mockingbird. Same thing with the Iliad. So the thing is with the Shillingen, right? It's learning and teaching through our way of life, or through the tribe's way of life. But if we go back to Lummi self-determination, they talk about to educate our children. And they talk about here respecting our traditions while making progress in a modern world. So it's double duty, right? It's this very specific cultural past, as well as this push into the modern world. And so in an attempt to teach, so there's a lot of sort of catch up, I think, that most of these kids are playing, because I mean, My Hero Academia is not a good example of that, but the Langston Hughes, the Walt Whitman, the Just So stories, you know, it's exposure they wouldn't necessarily have gotten at home, but they need a way in now just to grasp it. And so I have a lot of teachers who really stick up their noses at a graphic novel version of the Iliad, or there's a great graphic novel version of Gilgamesh. It's fantastic. And in the Odyssey, I have a great book of that's a graphic novel form, and the kids love it. And at least they're familiar with the story. Are they gonna ever read, you know, the original? I don't know. I don't actually care. I think that just being familiar with the story is what's helpful. And then, of course, manga. Incredibly popular. I really need to get this order going. Okay, let's look at another list. So if you look at this list detail, as I said, I really want to work at getting a lot more nonfiction, and this is a good example of my attempt to do that. I'm not super excited about how old a large percentage of these books are, though, and so I need to go back and look at how old these are and why they're so old. Here's a list of books, and this is a great series. This Little Blossoms series. Let's see if I can open this up so you can see. You might be familiar with the Little Blossom series already, but they're easy to read. They're just little starter books. But what I love about them is they look like the kids at the school. And almost all the books in the series reflect visually reflect what the kids look like at school. So I think that that's really important. So I did end up ordering actually that whole series of books. Same with the Ice Princess books, very, very popular. I ordered that whole series. The Unicorn Diaries, very popular. Oh yeah, so here are some more of the Little Blossom books, which I love. Case of the Lost Frog, Case of the Lost Hen, Case of the Lost Pig, Case of the Mixed Socks, my goodness. Case of the Wet Pet. All these Jordan, I've tried to buy everything that Jordan Fenton has written. And her books are fantastic. Again, they're in the library. Nobody checks them out. Nobody reads them. I do book talk them to the kids. They are not interested, but I book talk them like crazy, and I book talk them to the teachers also. I do like to look in every single page, or at least not every single page, but I do like to really look into every single book before I get it. The Yasmin books aren't that popular. I don't know why. There you go. As you can see when you look through these lists, and they go from 2019 to 2021, this one I haven't ordered, but I really try to break out my lists as specifically as possible by grade or by reading level or by group. And the classes will give me lists of books that they want, and so I always write those down, and I have class lists of books that I'm going to buy. Nothing in the series. I need to work on that. Native authors and teen reads. I think this maybe is a good list to look at. And this is a list of books that I've already purchased. These 7th generation graphic novels are really popular. So there's some really interesting books in here. All of these books are by Native authors. I mean, not the ones that deal with Native issues or are from a Native perspective are by Native people. So Absence of Angels is a great example, or Arrow to the Sun. And I do look at the authors and research them to see who they are. There's Briefcase Warriors. These Adam Gidwitz books I liked because they take place in nature. Now we're out of the high school section and back into maybe 3rd through 5th grade. 3rd through 5th. These aren't really very popular, but I liked at least that the people in the books looked like the people at our school, and they take place in nature. Now we're into some of the high school books. This is a great book. No one's ever checked it out. But again, and this, I got a whole bunch of these Fire Stick books. I think I ordered more later. Some really good short stories. And what I'd like to see is a class devoted to Native authors. And I'm talking with Dr. Tom, who's my supervisor, to maybe develop a class that maybe one of the Native teachers could teach at a high school level. So this is a pretty mixed list, but you can see that I really try to take myself out of the equation as much as possible. And I really try to get, this is great. Actually, Dr. Tom took this home, this Manifest Manners Narratives on Post-Indian Survivance, again by a Native author. So I want to have some really much higher level reading stuff for the kids that can read it and want to read it, or just thumb through it. This is a great book, really interesting. This Powwow Summer is a really popular book in nonfiction, and I have it actually on the high school side right now, but I'd like to get several more copies because most of the kids either have themselves or have relatives who have followed the powwow trail. And Bow Wow Powwow, by the way, is a great book. It's not on this list, but I have several copies of that. So I'm really just trying to, I know we sort of talked about when we talked on the phone, trying to pick a section, but I feel like I don't have the time to just pick a section. I have to do the whole thing all at once, and I don't have a budget either. Nothing is defined. So I just order stuff, and this is a really interesting book, and they usually come back. So there's a lot of trust there. So I guess in looking at this analysis, I'm really unhappy with this being the average age of the book, but given that it's mostly fiction, I can live with it. If it were mostly nonfiction, that would be pretty soul destroying. I really am very selective with the nonfiction about how new it is. And in fact, even in the databases before we got the Capstone Connect interactive contract for year, I did look into, because they are mostly nonfiction, I did look into how new those books are. Let's see, popular subject in my school. So it's a mix of fiction and non, but most of the fiction is pretty new. And I've said to the kids and the teachers, if you see a book in here you like, you can let me know, and I can actually buy the physical copy. Anyway, that's it. That is my analysis. Oh, there's one more really neat thing that I just got that I want to show you. And that is in PebbleGo and PebbleGo Next. So it is called a title search. A standard search. So all the kids know how to access this, and I actually have the username and password right here. And then I have the Whatcom County Library Catalog, all the digital resources, which I give a lot of training on how to access these, and they can all access them because they all have library cards. So even though they haven't been able to get physical books through ConnectEd, they can still use this, the digital resources. They know how to use Washington Anytime Library, and then I also have a number of videos here that I add to them all the time. Oh right, PebbleGo, that's what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you this new standard search that I got that I'm really excited for the teachers to use. And I think it's so there is a standard search in Follett Destiny, but you have to populate the standard. So this comes up at Washington, and it gives you the standards for Washington State. But what's really great is you can go down here and you can get all the next generation standards for science. Yes, science. And then you can select your grade. And what it does is it pre-populates the NGSS standards, and then you can pick one. You can either go macro or you can go micro. And then it'll give you all of the PebbleGo articles instructional materials, and ebooks. You can drill down and just get one of these, or by Lexile level, or you can get all of it. It's really easy to pick up the link and put it into, Seesaw, Schoology, your Google Slides, whatever you're using, and you immediately have a connection to what's available in the Capstone library to support your, which I think is great. And there's no limit to students, how many students can read these at the same time. And then if you look at the, you use the Pebble Go information, once it opens up here, you also have access to, oh, this is Pebble Go Next. Oh, that's interesting. You also have access to related articles. That's not really a good example there. It's not really a good example. I wanted to show you though.
Pebble Go Next.
Oh, I see why. Okay. Well, I think I can show you just some of the teacher resources here. So they do have a lot of instructional materials. I mean, they're pretty high, and I would probably suggest people use the standard, which I, by the way, do train them on. Let's see how to use this standard search in the catalog. So I work with the students to use WebPath Express, and I highly encourage the teachers to guide their students to WebPath Express. But I also really like the standard search for the students, or for the teachers. And again, you have to populate your own standard, which is too bad. But this is a really handy. Why did it say all? I wanted Kinder. See if it'll bring anything up. Yeah, so this is great because you can really use the standard search to support the curriculum, which, well, that's a whole nother story. But I do work with all of the teachers K-12 to attempt to support the curriculum. And you can see that this is a video, this is interactive, this is going to be a game, and all of these are curated by Follett. So it's really a great, these are great tools for the teachers to know about. And then of course there's, you can build a collection or utilize the collections that have already been built. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with this feature. I love this feature. I think it's fantastic. I post a ton of stuff up. I make collections for students in Seesaw or in Schoology, and I can post the entire collection. You know, you can make it have any view that you want it to have. But I also encourage the teachers to utilize that. And the classroom ready collections are curated by Follett. Highly recommend them. Okay, well, that is my collection analysis. I mean, and all of the online resources are obviously part of the collection analysis. So I hope you take a look at my paper, such as it is, and this presentation rounds it out. And I did list some resources that I use on a regular basis to inform my thinking also. All right, thanks.